small silver lining in comparison to the actual atrocities is that we're actually seeing like how the leftists, I'm going to use leftists in this term, the far left progressive Marxists, like how far gone they have been, right? Not only we have seen like BLM Chicago post on Twitter a image of Hamas on a parachute and everything, and so like obviously they were in favor or at least endorsing the attacks of Hamas, and they had to take it down because other people putting the stuff. But
Yeah,
Go ahead.
absolutely. For the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of international troubles. Starting from Ukraine and now Israel. We've been in for the Israel-Hamas conflict that's been going on for a couple of weeks now. And I don't know where if there's going to be an end to this strife. In fact, President Biden was in Israel last week, and over the weekend, some people from Congress also visited Israel, and so I wanted to ask everybody in the panels, what do you guys think about what's going on in Israel? And is there a delay with ground troops because apparently Israel has to defend themselves, and they have to answer to Hamas's attacks. But it kind of seems that America is asking Israel to either hold off on their defense, or to actually do a ceasefire. So what does everybody think about that?
my whole thing is, and I don't know if this is the hot take, but my thing is, this is another country. I don't want to spend money to Ukraine. I do not want to spend money to Israel, Palestine. Like, that may sound harsh, especially with all the atrocities that are going on. I understand that, but we have our own problems, right? And my thing is, I don't like. We need to start fixing what we have. We can't. We have to secure our own border first before we can worry about another country's borders. And so, I understand the argument that Israel's a long-standing ally. I get that, but yo, there's other countries. Okay, so they can foot the bill a little bit more than we can right now because it's hurting, and we're like, and I'm trying not to be hyperbolic, but we are in the verge of World War III, and I do not need us advancing that any further, especially because I got skin in the game. So I'll pass it on to Mark if you got anything to add.
Yeah, Mitch, I actually really respect your position. I'm not sure I'm entirely there, considering the spiritual significance of Israel. So part of me is like, oh my God, this is a real, especially the atrocities of how Hamas attacked Israel. It was the brutality of the rapes, the baby killing. I mean, this is
Yes.
like really so atrocious in a way that Ukraine wasn't as much as that. But what I do want to bring up is the way that the Biden administration seems to be using it as a political football. So they're like, okay, I want to fund Israel, but Congress is stopping that, trying to make it the Republican issue that they're not going to fund this blank check. And I feel like the Democrats are being very disingenuous in the way they're painting this and trying to use the atrocities in Israel to make a political point. It makes me really, really disgusted. Not to mention, on the ground, liberals and leftists, I don't even want to say liberals because I think most liberals are on our side now. The leftists are going out and really taking Hamas's side. I mean, how can you look at what Hamas did and try to justify that and say, oh, that's okay? And that's the thing that really, when atrocities or catastrophes like this happen, you really see the true heart of people in where they stand on issues. Are they apathetic? Are they taking a side that's just so ludicrous? In this case, it's a latter, because I'd rather have apathy than going and saying, I'm standing with Hamas. I mean, that literally is happening with some of the Democratic base. And it just disgusts me and reminds me of why, it's just so sad that we don't have a Democratic Party or a Democratic base that is sane. You literally have half the country that has no morals and is basically thrown that out of the window to support terrorism and to be okay with what happened, because they've always been anti-Israel. But at this point, can you look at that and say the U.S. needs to use smart diplomacy, not necessarily resources? And that, Mitch, is where I agree with you. I think this country throws away way too many resources on just stuff that doesn't give any return on investment. The military is a great example. I have friends in the Marines. I have friends in, a lot of the military units that will tell you so much money and resources are being squandered. So I'm kind of with you on that. Please, no more blank checks off our taxpayer dollars.
Right. It blogs my mind. Why are these leftists, complaining? They're protesting. The Hamas, they killed innocent children. They killed and raped innocent women. And for some of these protesters to, say Israel has to do, the ceasefire, it seems kind of backwards to me. And, either they have something really wrong with them, but I also think that the media is to blame, where they're not presenting this right, or maybe it's Israel and our side that's not really promoting how bad these crimes are that Hamas did.
Also one silver lining, and I'll let Rachel jump in if she's seen all of this too. But a silver lining, again, very small silver lining in comparison to the actual atrocities, is that we're actually seeing like how the leftists, I'm going to use leftists in this term, the far left progressive Marxists, like how far gone they have been. Right, not only we have seen like BLM Chicago post on Twitter a image of Hamas on a parachute and everything, and so like obviously they were in favor or at least endorsing the attacks of Hamas, and they had to take it down because other people was putting the stuff. But it makes sense. Like all the violence of BLM, all the Marxists of Antifa, and now the anti-Semitism in this pro Hamas, like they're all embedded with each other, and I'm glad like regular normal moderate Democrats are like, they either are like dumbfounded that they are in bed with these same people, but it's like now it kind of pushes like, okay, it's too crazy. And so when you got people like Rashida Tlaib saying all this stuff, when you got like, again, Ilan Omar doing all this stuff, right, it is crazy. Like how, like it's a great way to show to the American people who are not really invested as much as all of us here as politicos, how far gone the left has been, right? And again, like you were saying, there's like, and more so, how many more people of Hamas, and I forgot like who was posting this, like there is a terrorist watch list, and like there's known flags going across the border, and like it's over 100 now, like and it is like another threat to our own security, right? And so I'll give it to Rachel. Like, have you ever seen all these other posts of these pro Hamas people? Like, have you seen like even images of like them putting down, like tearing down the images, or like the lost Israeli children, and putting it down and all that stuff?
I had a friend who was telling me in Orange County that she's like, oh, there's a protest down the street, and this is in Orange County, off of Brookhurst and Lincoln. And if anyone knows that area, it's heavily Middle Eastern, a lot of Middle Eastern shops there, and they said it was very crowded, and then they realized, and they didn't know what color the flag was. I said, is there a black triangle and it's red and green? And she said, yeah. And I was like, oh, it's a pro-Palestinian rally. So she saw that, and I think that was yesterday. Now, I just saw also that, I saw a video where someone was saying that the Ivy League schools are losing millions from donors because they are just now realizing that these universities are pushing an anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, agenda. And so now there's people who won't donate to that. So they're going to feel that. The other thing that I just saw, it was posted 3 hours ago in it was at MSN. What is this? Microsoft, Washington Post. No, excuse me, USA Today. To his credit, I don't know. Joe Biden said that he does not want to consider backing a ceasefire with Israel versus Hamas until all hostages kidnapped by Hamas are released. Now he's going against some of the Democrats that are encouraging him to push for a ceasefire, but he says no until all our people that have been kidnapped by Hamas is released. That's another thing. Now, what I just saw on Twitter or X, they said that just in Laura Loomer posted that Trump just reposted or retweeted from Ted Nugent, arrest Rashida Tlaib. So
Yeah.
she,
Yay!
he reposted it. Trump. He's going to say some stuff, but it said he reposted from Ted Nugent, arrest Rashida Tlaib for inciting an insurrection of the Capitol.
Yes.
So what's up with that? You got the J6 people, right?
Yeah.
So
And he cannot go to Israel because the way he puts them down, the way he encourages them to have, a war there. No.
All right,
Thank you. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, great conversations tonight, and I think the biggest thing on my mind, especially as far as someone being active duty, is again, like I said in the earlier of this episode, is like we're on the cusp of World War III. I just reach out to anyone's listening, just have faith, right? Like, and also hopefully, and again, war is horrible. Anyone who is advocating for war should be in the front lines. Obviously, you should never advocate for war, but if there is a silver lining in all of that, hopefully it's a crucible moment in which we transform into a better society, because it hardens men and hardens even our women, and to support our men, right? And so hopefully by putting in a world war, even though that's horrible, I would not advocate that 100%, but maybe it will harden us so that we can become a stronger nation. So that's the silver lining. And so hopefully just pray that it doesn't come to that, but like maybe we can, by the grace of God, become stronger without war. But like I'm afraid that it's coming closer and closer each week.